All right, welcome to Investing with Keto. Today we have a really special guest. His name is TJ. He started investing since 2015 and has just really accelerated. So I just, before taking his thunder, I want to, get him to kind of tell his story and, share his path and how he got to where he is right now. So without further ado, so TJ, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, Keto. Appreciate the invite, man. I'm happy to share all the stories, of entrepreneurship and getting into this real estate business. Definitely, it's a lucrative industry, but there's going to be challenges along the way. So I'm glad to share my story with you guys.
Okay, awesome. So for those who don't know you, kind of shares your background and then how you got into real estate.
Yeah, definitely. Bring you way back, way in the beginning before I even knew anything about real estate, and probably majority of your audience, they're interested in getting into real estate. So, I'm a foreigner, just like you and I, wasn't born and raised here in America. Always wanted to come here and had the opportunity to make it here. And I've always had the mindset of like, when I make it, when I get to the United States, like I am going to just go all out, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to be like, try to figure life out basically, especially being young. So basically I moved to the US in 97, landed in Hawaii. So lived there for about 7 years. And then around 2003, that's when my family, my dad was in the army. And so we moved around. So when we moved to Washington, we moved down in Lacey area, and I didn't know anything about real estate. I was just some kid just wanting to go play and have fun, right? And but as life started to develop, I said like I need to figure out my career. And one of the careers I wanted to get into was construction, stock market, and real estate. And so I chose real estate because there's more millionaires in real estate than any other industry, right? But again, it was just kind of like a pipe dream. Like that's what I want to do. So I got into construction for like 10 years in the union. And while I was about my 8th or 9th year in the construction industry, I got really burnt out and tired. And I was like, I need to get out of this industry. Like I know a lot of people that work in that industry don't last very long, and their bodies pretty much just, give out on them once they retire. And I was like, I got to get out of here. But so, real estate has always been in the back of my mind. And one of the key things that I did was, I knew I was going to jump into the real estate industry. I didn't know how, I didn't know when. I just knew that's where I wanted to be. And so I just started listening to like podcasts. I started YouTubing videos and started researching and imagining how it would be like getting into it. And so, 2015, or actually 2014, December 21st, 2014 was the day that I finally said, I think it's time. And of course, there was some catalyst that kind of broke the camel's back to get me to really jump onto real estate. But that's pretty much my little quick story background on how I got into this real estate game. And, I can take you through the whole story of that, but that's kind of like the gist of it,
Mm-hmm. So what was it? Because I know it did sound like you've already had this kind of entrepreneur spirit when you were younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that catalyst for you where you said, you know what, this is I'm gonna jump in, I'm gonna do it. What was that for you?
Yeah, so like in construction, like it's all physical labor, right? And so the first catalyst was like my lower back gave out during the out work, just carrying heavy stuff. And the first time it happened, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was like, oh, I'll get better. You're young and strong, like you can get back into it. And then it happened the second time. And then when the second time happened, it really clicked to me. I was like, man, this is not good. Like, I don't know what the third time is gonna do. Is it gonna put me out? And so the second time it happened, that's when my brain decided really like making what I'm learning about real estate. Like I was like absorbing it that much harder. And so that's when I said, okay, I gotta make a decision. While I was on break to recover from that injury, that's when I was really contemplating, is this it? Is the time to get in? And then finally made up my mind. And of course, I got in and I I quit my job cold turkey. I didn't go back to work for the new year. I called up my boss. I was like, I'm not coming back to work. I'm gonna get into real estate. And they weren't happy with it, obviously, because like, I mean, for me, like anything I do, I put 100% of my effort and attention to. And so that's kind of what my mentality was. If I'm going to jump into real estate, I am going to go all in, like what Tony Robbins says, burn the motherfucking boat. You know, like you don't put any options, like commit to it, right? And so that's exactly what I did. I just said, all right, this is time. Let's get in.
Wow, yeah, sounds like that commitment, once you made that decision, right, you decide and you just went forward. So tell us, how did you get your first deal? What was that like? I mean,
Man, the first deal, you'll tell you what, you get into real estate, you'll never forget your first deal, especially when you screw up everything that could go wrong about a deal. My very first deal was I had some connections before I really like bought a house or learn about like lenders and borrowing money and stuff like that. I was going to auctions just to kind of watch how people interact and how do you buy a property through foreclosure auctions, right, at the courthouse steps. And I finally made some connections there with some local agents that represented clients. And so when I said, hey, I want to buy a house, and they started coaching me and what I need to do, line things up, and how much money you need. And the day it was, Fridays are auction days, and so on Thursday, I picked out a property that I really wanted, right? And I said, I'm going to buy that property up to this price. And so that first deal, I couldn't sleep at all. Like the night before, I just knew I was like, again, my mindset is like, when I commit, I'm going to do it. So with that mentality, the night before the auction day, like I could not sleep, bro. I was excited and nervous at the same time. And so I ended up buying that property at the auction. And again, I don't know anything about calculations, rehab, like how high should I pay for this property, what the ARV would be. Like, I don't know any of that, right? And so I just relied solely on the agent that was helping me. And they were saying, oh yeah, this is a good deal. This is a good deal. Let's buy it. And to fund that deal was I ended up pulling or borrowing money out of my 401k to do the down payment on that hard money loan. And so that's kind of how my first deal was,
So you bought the property, then what's next? I mean, what did you end up renovating it? What did you do?
Yeah, so when I got that property, man, like at the end of at the auction day, I went and drove to the property. Thank God it was vacant. Looked at it, it was boarded up, and then so we started like rehabbing and flipping it. And I didn't know any contractors too, so I just went with whatever they referred. Right, they referred me a bunch of different contractors, and I started interviewing them. And it's like I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing, but it didn't stop me because I was so committed that I'm in. Like there's no turning back. There's no turning back. Like keep pushing forward. And so I learned about contractors, buying all the materials and all that stuff. But anyway, long story short of that first deal, I finished that deal, like sold it back in the market, got my money back, but I didn't know anything about bookkeeping, how much expense. I didn't track any of that. I just went spend, finish it up, get it back in the market and sell it. And then I was so excited that I completed the first one. I went back to the auction and bought another one. And so my second deal, by the time I finished my second deal, my bookkeeping had caught up and I actually lost money. I thought I made money, but I actually lost money on that first flip. It was scary because thank God I didn't know I lost money in the beginning, because that probably would have scared me. Because I actually ended up losing $10,000 on that property.
Wow.
It was scary. It's just over budgeting and whatnot. I mean, it looks good when all your money come back at at closing, but then once you start deducting all your expenses, you're like, where did all the money go? But that was scary. But at the same time, like I just kept pushing. I knew that this was the route. So by the second property, actually by the third property, I was already like profitable. I was like making good money. And so that pretty much hooked me, and I never stopped from there. Today we've done over 60 houses.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it did sound like your first house, your first property, even though it was you lost money. It's almost like it was the cost of education. right? I mean,
Yep.
it's like going to college, but you're getting the school of hard knocks, right?
Oh man, yeah. It was definitely hard and stressful too, stressful. And so
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that I have, I mean, for the people that are getting in, the one thing would be just commit. Like
Hmm.
there's no like, don't be like tippy-toeing in, oh, I'm gonna feel it out how it's gonna go. No, it's like you're bound to fail if you're just gonna be like, oh, I'll try it out, see how it goes. No, no,
Hmm.
don't even try. Don't even try. This industry will eat you up and spit you out, and then you're gonna be like crying. And you're like,
Hmm.
it's not easy. You make a lot of money, but it's very very stressful if you're not the kind of person that commits to things. But
Hmm.
if you do commit, I mean, it's all part of the game. Stress, challenges, obstacles is all part of the game.
Hmm. Now, in terms of what, you've done like 60 flips. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that that's a lot of houses. And kind of share with us, as you've been through it, like what are some of the lessons that you've learned along the way? Obviously, your first one, over budgeting, like what were some of, maybe kind of share some of the stuff that didn't really, that just kind of went south, and then what you learned
Yeah,
from that.
yeah. The number one thing that I've learned is your contractor is gonna make or break your deal. um, if you have a really good contractor that understands the process of doing the whole entire work, and
Hmm.
then also they're not um, charging you an arm and a leg, because most contractors will overcharge you. And I keep telling guys, it's like you have to understand pricing of materials, because that's what's going to give you power to negotiate with your contractors. Because
Hmm.
if they charge you, for example, like a roof is pretty basic, right? Like materials to buy the shingles and the materials to do your roof is only going to cost you about a third of what they actually bid you. So most of the roof today, you'll hear like $10,000, right? 10 grand. So the actual material cost is only about 3,500, right? About
Hmm.
$3,500. So the rest is labor. I mean, if you break that number down on, let's say, what is that? 6,500, $6,500 for labor. Like you break that down by hourly, and you ask the contractors, how long is it going to take you? He's going to tell you 2 days, right? 2 days at how many hours a day? Let's just say 8 hours a day, right? You see what I'm saying? I'm starting breaking it down. So
Hmm.
those are the kind of things that you need to understand. You need to understand pricing and material costs, right? And then how long, as far as like how many hours does the person work in a day for the remodel? So I budget about 8 hours a day per one person, right? And then you multiply that by how much are you paying them hourly, right? If they're bidding you the job, you need to learn that you know an average contractor, let's say at 35, 40, even $50 an hour, right? That's decent pay, right? And that's not being stingy. But
Hmm.
when you break down your hours, let's just say, I mean, you could run your calculator. I mean, I'll do it right now because this is a prime example. Let's just say 6,500 was the leftover of that roofing cost. Let's just say there's two or three guys is gonna be working. Let's just say two, right? So you divide that by two. Okay, you got 3,250. Now let's say it took them 20 hours. So you divide that by 20. That's $162 an hour.
Wow. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like that didn't sound a lot at first, right? It didn't. So it's easy for us to kind of overlook things, but when you break it down to this kind of evaluation, you're paying somebody $162 an hour. An hour. That's ridiculous. So just understand how to calculate, materials and whatnot will help you significantly when it comes to flipping these houses and sticking to your budget. Okay, you can easily go over budget if you don't know how to do this, and I've learned that the hard way. I've over budgeted all my houses because I didn't know. It just sounded good when the contractor gives you a full bid on a full remodel. It's like, oh, $50,000 to do blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Everybody said that should be about the same price. when you break it down by how much the material costs and how much are they actually charging you by labor, bro, you're gonna be mind blown. And that's how you can make more money, because you understand that and you can negotiate that. They can't argue facts, right? When
Mhm.
you break it down, they can be like, oh, $162. I'm like, doctors make as much as that, right?
Right. So it sounds like, you know, someone who's starting out that wants to get into the rehab is to really, you know, understand, you know, the cost for things, whether it's for
Yes.
labor and materials. You know, because I know you know, I don't have as much experience as you have, but yeah, I mean, it's so important because I mean, it's easy to go over budget, especially when you're tearing a house apart, right?
Yeah, yeah, easily, because everything in the moment, like it feels like everything is overwhelming and stressful, and you just want it done, and that feeling will cost you to just say yes to a budget, right? You won't even think about it twice. You just want the problem to be like done and over with. So therefore, when a contractor gives you a bid and it sounds okay, and then the people, you know, everybody else is saying, yeah, that's how much it should cost, because they don't know any better too, right?
Mhm.
Um, Definitely understand the breakdown of the numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers is like my number one thing.
Hmm. So now, you know, so you know, you've started out with one home, lost money, you're learning and stuff, you know. Now, I mean, because right now, I mean, you're in a total different place. I mean, you've got like a team now, right? So kind of tell us that transition for you, you know, going from someone that's solo, now you know, you've actually got a full-blown business, you know, literally just crushing it out there. So
Man, I tell you what, it's a lot of work, a lot of mistakes, a lot of like sleepless nights. But at the end of the day, like if you push through all these challenges, like you're gonna do pretty well. The transition for me to go from I've actually transitioned from fixing and flipping like full time into wholesaling full time, as you know.
mhm,
Um, Fixing and flipping was a lot of fun, made a lot of good money, a lot of mistakes, a lot of challenges, learned a lot, right? I pretty much just expedited my learning curve to like short time frame. And now that I've realized like, you know, I wasn't finding a good deal. And so I transitioned into a full like wholesaling. So I built the wholesaling team to where basically we're going directly to the sellers now. We're marketing to them, we're finding them, we're negotiating our own deals. And then we keep the ones that we want to keep, right? We're starting to cherry pick the deals. So anything over $100,000 profit, we keep. Anything less than that, we just wholesale for like a fee, right? And so the mindset had to shift to go into from I'm gonna do it all to who's gonna help me get it done, right? Like now, you know, I built a team of like drivers, like people that are just driving around all day looking for properties for me. I have inside sales team here that just calling all these leads that comes in. I have virtual assistants in the Philippines that are just dialing by the hundreds, right? And then I built a system already, like a CRM system that house all these leads and we can follow up with them and do a campaign. And so that's like on the wholesale side. So I have probably like right now I have over 60 drivers that are just looking for ugly houses out there. They
mhm,
make good money and I pay them well. And my inside team consists of like licensed agents, right? I'm also licensed. I built the license agency team because 80% of these leads that we take in, majority of them are retail leads. Like they're not in distress, they don't want to sell at a discount, and they want top dollar for their property. And so we allocate that to our agents, and the agents can work on helping them selling it on the market. But for the properties that are in distress that don't qualify financing with traditional buyer, we get those under contract and basically purchase it for ourselves, or we purchase it for our investors, basically wholesale. Um, so that's kind of the transition for me is instead of me doing all the flipping, and now I'm the person that's sourcing all the deals and then bringing them to my investors, because I was on the other side to where I was barely making any money on those flips because I was buying them at the auction, which is, you don't get a very good deal at the auction. And then you're buying them on the MLS, which is pretty much just crumbs left over from everybody else that didn't want. Right.
Mhm.
And so now I'm going directly to homeowners to get the better deals. But there's definitely a mindset of transitioning into like that kind of leadership,
Mhm. Nice, nice. Wow. So, so what advice would you give to someone that, that maybe has a like full-time job and, maybe they're not happy with, you know, with their current situation and want to get into real estate? What kind of steps would you tell them to start with?
Man, if you want to leave your job and get into real estate full time, like my number one suggestion would be like make up your mind. Make up your mind. You can't do this real estate having a second job. I promise you. I know a lot of people that dabbled into real estate, and I would say 95% of them are like they're gone, right? Just because it requires so much attention and focus when you get into real estate. And again, you're thinking you have to think in a learning curve wise. If you just dabble into it, your learning curve is going to be long, right? It's going to take you a long time. And on top of that, you have a lot of distractions in between. You have a lot of um, out of focus in between, right? Because you have your job, you have your life, you have your friends, you want to party or whatever. And it's going to take you a long time. And that time frame is going to exhaust you from wanting to keep going, right? Versus you making a decision going, okay, I'm going to get into real estate. Could I afford not making any income for like 3 months, 6 months, a year, right? Once you have figured that out, that you can survive those time frame, then you just gotta say, okay, I'm in. I'm gonna learn, or before you even make your decision, you have to commit that you have to learn, right? Well, you have to invest time into it, right? You have to make some sacrifices. If you just wanna like do it when you feel like doing it, you're wasting your time. Okay. Definitely just make a decision, commit to it, and stick to it, and plan on doing it for a 1 whole year of commitment. 1 whole year of commitment. You get into real estate, you cut out all the noise, right? Get rid of your toys. I mean, when I got into real estate, I sold all my car, my fast car, my street bike. Like I got rid of all that because I knew that was distraction, right? And I knew that if it distracts me, my learning curve is going to be further, right? So I got rid of all the distractions, committed 100%, studied, watched a ton of videos, YouTube, podcasts. There's so many resources out there that's free. Don't make up excuses that you don't have the money, because in real estate, to be honest with you, you could have $0 on your pocket and you will find a way to make a deal happen. And that's just a fact. Having money and need money in real estate, it's a false belief that you can't get in the game. Go ahead.
Nice. Yeah. So thanks for sharing those nuggets of wisdom, So it just sounds like it's really committing and going all in is the key to, and I guess you could apply this in any parts of your life, right?
Yeah.
Making commitment to just move forward.
Right.
So
Right.
anyways, TJ, I just want to, thank you for spending the time with us and, and just sharing your story and inspiring us, 'cause I know it definitely has inspired me just watching you just watching you grow within the last year since I've
Yeah.
known you. So I just want to acknowledge that for you. And so thanks for giving us the time. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Definitely appreciate the share, and I'm glad to can help you guys out there. And if there's anything that I can do, um, definitely feel free to reach out or whatnot, and get in the game and stay focused.
Okay,
Be
awesome.
consistent.
And then one last thing too, if people do want to get a hold of you, what's the best way? You have a Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube channel?
Yeah. Man, that's kind of tough because like I'm so focused on my team, and we're like in the build phase.
Mm.
And so I barely have any time to like respond to like friend requests on Facebook and whatnot. I would say just, I mean, you know, like you could friend request me, but when I get a chance. And the downside too is like I try to avoid adding people that I don't know personally, but
Mm.
I would say just follow me on Facebook. You know, just hit follow. Don't worry about the friend request. Just follow TJ, and so that way, anything I post on there, majority of the time I'm posting like I'm looking at properties, motivational stuff, positive things, stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. You can just follow me on Facebook.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, TJ. I really appreciate your time.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks, Keita.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.